getting all of the softwares connected today. We were hopeful for Instagram. May catch up in just a second. There's what I can see, and there's what everybody else can see. So hopefully we are there. We are. We are live. Transformation Tuesday. I am Amanda Beth, and I'm an intuitive healer, speaker, best-selling author. Yeah, you guys all know all that. But what I want to know is, have you been feeling a little extra lately? Have you felt unusually emotional or unsettled, exhausted and overwhelmed, or just not really feeling yourself lately? Yeah, maybe you found yourself thinking like, "What's wrong with me?" Because I think that that's one of those first things we do is like, "Oh, I'm feeling off. What's wrong?" Sometimes it's not really wrong, and then or why am I acting so strongly? Every time something happens, and I'm like, "Bam! I gotta have a reaction." Maybe that's what it is. We're reacting, or you feel like you're losing your mind. First of all, I just want you to take a breath. That deep cleansing breath. Breathe all the way down to your toes and then exhale it all the way out again. You know, you could be experiencing something very real, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong with you. I mean, for something to be wrong, you would need to be fixed. To be fixed, you'd be broken. None of that is true. None of that is true. This weekend, I had the opportunity to participate in a theta group with other theta practitioners, and it was really awesome. It was awesome to get grounded and connect with other like-minded people who are experiencing the feels as well. And it was so powerful, and we were all talking about the heaviness that we've all been feeling the past few months. There's a lot of planet changes and sensitive people, intuitive people, empaths. We're feeling it. We are feeling those feels, and even people who never really thought of themselves as being an empath or being sensitive are feeling things that they've never really had to feel before. It's been big. And whether the feelings begin with this astrological shift or things that are happening in the world, experiencing a difficult relationship, or maybe there's a memory that keeps coming up that you just can't quite put your finger on it. It makes you say, hey, what's happening out there? Um, what's stirring up in me? And that might be the better question is not what's going on out there, but what is it stirring up in me, and what does this mean in me? So what have you been feeling lately? Just drop it in the comments. Um, the things that I'm hearing from people and that I feel myself are people feeling angry. They're feeling anxious. All of a sudden, everything is hurry up and got to do it. Just feeling absolutely exhausted. That exhaust and overwhelm that rest, just regular good night's sleep is not addressing that. Maybe you're feeling pretty hopeful that things are changing. I know with this most recent big shift, um, I actually have, a lightened sense of being more hopeful. Maybe you're feeling more tender. Just put that in the comments. There's no wrong answer here. Just what's real, what's raw, and be gentle with one another. We're and maybe someone else is feeling the same thing you're feeling, so you can empower them by you sharing. Hopefully, my sharing weekly is empowering you to really take a look at what's going on for you and where you need to possibly be making some changes. Not big, giant changes, but just shifts. So there are so many reasons that this collective information can feel heavy, the collective consciousness. Um, we all tend to play off one another. And just isolating yourself is not the answer either, because the feels are in the air, if you will. It still affects us. And I know I've talked a lot of times about, being here in the Midwest and being in a farming community. The weather, the overall weather affects everyone in our community. Even though I live in town, I don't have a crop of corn or soybeans. I don't have livestock to be managing in the weather. That affects the whole community. That affects how everyone plays off one another here. And so if things in a farming community happen in the community, then all the things that happen in the state and in all of the other things, as everything just keeps going on, we all impact one another. We're constantly receiving information from social media, from the news, from relationships, from workplaces, and the people around us. We are exposed to so many feels. We're exposed to fear, grief, uncertainty, anger, and the division. I think division is one of the biggest things that I think that we consistently encounter across everything. And sometimes we're experiencing this before we even get out of bed. Did you get woke up by your alarm? Did you get woke up by a phone call? Did you get woke up by a weather alert? What are the things that woke you up? Think about how your day started. And sometimes those of us who are energetically sensitive, it can be really, really hard for us to determine, is this energy mine? Am I feeling this way because of something in me? Am I feeling this way because of something in my community, in my country, in my neighborhood? What is it? Is it in my relationship? Is it, there's a whole lot of things. And I just encourage you to really think about, what is it that's activating you? I had one of my theta sisters talk about, it's the mirror. The things that come up in us come up in all of us, and we are mirrors for each other. So, what comes up in my session with another practitioner is also what's coming up for that practitioner. So, thinking about those things as well. Um, what is it that's with me, and are we buying into the collective energy around us? We also have to be careful and not throw our personal power into something that may not benefit us. So, see something, say something, say it first to yourself, and decide, does this really impact me? Do I really want to give my attention to it? You see something happening, do you just run out of the house screaming in anger, or do you sit and watch and look at it and see, does this really get my energy? When you give your energy to any situation, you are giving your power to it. So just be mindful of that. Acknowledge that energies are intense, and decide if contributing to it is helpful. Does it help you at the end of the day? What is your takeaway? And I know it kind of sounds selfish, I guess, on the outside, but deciding, when you're feeling something, you say, yeah, I feel it. And then ask yourself, does this feeling belong to me? Is this mine to take interest in? Why am I carrying something that was never mine? That's kind of the issue. If you choose to pick up a fight or a battle, fight sounds strong, a battle, if you choose an issue to spend your energy on, it needs to be an issue that directly impacts you. And it can be something that, well, it doesn't impact me today, but it's going to impact me in the future. I get that. I get that. those are totally things that we're talking about. But making sure that you're not carrying something that was never yours to carry, because this gets back to our own sovereignty, our own individuality, the things that we are willing to take a stand for, that we are willing to bring into our energetic load of what's ours, what's not ours. You know, astrology, this the astrologers have been talking about significant planetary shifts. There's retrogrades, opposites, eclipse, and now we're moving into August. So I I'm not here to teach astrology. That is not my area of expertise, and you will constantly hear me say that. But it is fascinating to consider how long human beings have been looking toward the sky for answers. Thousands of years. 4,000 years we can track back to humans looking at the skies for understanding. People have been watching the movements of the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets. Ancient civilizations observe the relationship between the skies, the seasons, the crops, the animals, the weathers, and human events. If we think about it, our calendars are set up to reflect what goes on in the planet. Our 24-hour day is that cycle of the planets. So there is something to be had here. And over time, astrology has developed. It started with the Mesopotamian cultures back 4,000 years ago. And it's developed into other systems. And we recognize there's Western astrology, there's Vedic astrology, and Chinese astrology. There's probably others out there that I did not find on my quick dive this morning, because we know how much I can do a deep dive on things that are just they don't really apply. Um, but astrology, it's become a multi-billion dollar business. $3 billion annually in the astrology industry. There's apps, there's videos, there's podcasts. Social media is just exploding. I read an estimate that there's hundreds of thousands of people posting in social media about astrology. And so there's countless sources out there offering people daily interpretations of astrology. Um, Part of this boom has been attributed to AI being present, more people being unemployed, AI is available. So just be aware. It's buyer beware type thing here. It doesn't that doesn't automatically make the information wrong if someone obtained it through AI, but it also does not automatically make that person delivering it experienced or discerning or qualified to give you that information. Of course, you can ask what makes me qualified to give you the information that I give. I'm being as honest as I can be with everything that I present. Um, and I love to have engaging conversations. Take the other side, take the other side of the coin, and let's have a good conversation about it. So, yeah, what feels right with you? And that's where I say this is where your discernment comes in to play. Um, Everybody has, well, maybe not. People have their favorite people they follow. You have your favorite you follow people based on how you feel in their presence. If you choose to follow me, your astrology person, do you're going to follow someone who seems to have the style, the depth that you're willing to look into. Some people go really, really deep in astrology, and that is not for me. I like kind of that surface stuff. And my first awareness of astrology goes back to the Sunday newspaper. the Sunday newspaper and you had a little tiny paragraph that all the people in this sign had this one thing. And I remember as a child going, yeah, I don't think so. I don't believe that. Whatever, you know. More often I felt I didn't necessarily agree with it. But astrology can provide you with a language of something that you're experiencing. Um, it can invite reflection. It can help you see a pattern from a different perspective, but it shouldn't take away from your agency, your sovereignty, or convince you that every emotion, every decision, and every difficult day is predetermined by a planet. You still have free will. Please do not forget that. You have your free will. Astrology can be a tool, but I don't think it should be your driver. And there's so many astrology forecasts available that you could listen to people. You could listen to 10 different people and you could get 10 different explanations for the day. So find the person that you resonate with the most. Um, the one person that says, there'll be one person that says this shift's going to bring you abundance. Another's going to say that shift is going to create chaos. Someone else says your relationship's going to end because of this shift in the planets. Someone else may say your soulmate's arriving on Thursday afternoon. So be aware that the more noise you invite in, the more things you're listening to, the more noise you need to sift through. So choose your sources carefully. Find one or two people that feel grounded and feel responsible for the information that they're providing to you and see how you feel. I mean, there are some people that I follow on social media and I get halfway through some of their posts and it's like, this isn't a post, this is a rant. I don't agree with this. And I swipe left, swipe right, whatever, whatever swipe direction it is. We just close it and we just stop. When it doesn't resonate with you, you need to be able to just stop. Turn off the podcast, turn off the broadcast. Have discernment in what you are willing to take on. Notice how you feel after listening to them. Do you feel informed and supported? Did they invite you to reflect in your own world? Or did you feel frightened and powerless and dependent on tuning in tomorrow to find out what the next day brings? Resonance doesn't always mean it's telling you what you want to hear. And sometimes those difficult things that we need to hear are the things that we need to work on. Because, I've talked many times about if you're going through life and everything is comfortable every single day, I don't know that you're growing, but there is value in staying at that comfortable level until you're ready to take on new growth and new perspectives and looking at things differently. The big takeaway I've gotten from this most recent shift coming out of a Mercury retrograde and coming out of this big planetary shift that's been going on for the past few months is that we are now being called to do our duties. It's kind of the end of the healing um, genre, just doing all the healing work and everything, and now it's time to show up and be who we're meant to be. This was the takeaway that I took from the input that I received. So I encourage you to take that as you need to. We've got a full moon. I believe the full moon is tonight. We have coming out of this retrograde, we're coming into the first of the month. There's a lot of abundance work that's often done around the first of the month. We're also coming into the Lionsgate portal, which is also believed to be some powerful, motivating energies out there for you. So take it all, including my podcast. Take what works for you and leave the rest for everybody else. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever consumed so many readings and forecasts and opinions that you feel more confused than when you started? I know in the pandemic I used to read so much information and every day because I was working in a medical office and I would read and read and read and I started to say the more I read, the less I believe. because there was so much confusion. And I think that that was one of the times that I really heeded that inner warning to myself that things that made me more confused were not things that were in my best interest, you know? So, what I've been seeing with individuals that I work with, I've been seeing a lot of things in my short readings that bring me up to talking with people about their inner child. Now, inner child work is not something that I usually delve into in a short reading, but I've had more people who are coming back to me for additional readings. And so it's not that initial reading. Um, and I read what source, God, spirit, universe, Mother Earth, I read what is presented to me with that person. And there seems to be a lot of things again and again that are inner child stuff coming forward. And someone may arrive looking for a healing. Excuse me. Um, Looking for a healing, looking for a reading, and they're feeling anxious. They're feeling angry or scattered, emotionally overwhelmed, and a lot of the times, what I see that is happening is the current that is underneath these emotions is a lot of times part of their younger self coming up to the surface. And this younger self, we talk about it as being the inner child. And a lot of times, this inner child is presenting saying, I don't feel safe. No one's listening to me. I'm going to be abandoned again. I have to handle everything myself. I'm not wanted. I'm not allowed to be angry. The current situation may be real, like what's going on in their life is very real. It's very much a situation, a circumstance. There's a lot of decisions being made about careers, and what people need to be doing in their careers. These are all very real things, but the feelings that come with it come from that baggage of that inner child, when the inner child wasn't nurtured and felt loved. That inner child is that voice inside going, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't do this because this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is, it's kind of like predicting these things. And this is where so many things come into play. If your current situation is triggering a past situation that relates to something that happened to you when you were a child, and your ability to handle things as a child was shut down because you were a child, then those same fears that your inner child has rises straight up through. We talk about it falling up into getting into the crown chakra, and then you have a scared child running the bus, driving the bus, making your decisions from a standpoint of fear, of not being enough, not all of those things. It's coming from that old state, that old situation, and that's when I recommend you do some inner child work. Um, Identify the feelings. Have some time to sit and feel the feels, and then go back and have a conversation with your inner child to say, "Hey, we're older now. We're more mature. We've handled these things before. I see you. I hear you. I feel you." It's, and some people work well with the inner child analogy. Sometimes it's more about um, the coffee analogy. If I have a cup, if I have a coffee cup and you bump into me and it's full of hot coffee and I spill hot coffee, I have hot coffee anger that's spilled out of the cup. It doesn't really have to do with you. It has to do with what I was carrying in that cup. Now, if you were carrying an iced coffee and someone bumped you, you would be spilling an iced coffee. An iced coffee feels different than a hot coffee. And if you had an empty cup, you had no history in there, and someone bumped into you, nothing spilled. So it's not that the person made you angry. The person bumped into your hot coffee that spilled, that allowed the anger that you were already carrying to spill. So looking at where you send your energies, where your feels are feeling. Not that one person's feelings are stronger than another, but we have different ways that we feel our feels. So if you think about the way you feel your feels based on the history of how you felt your feels before. Are you repeating history? Did you learn from it? Is your inner child bringing up your history so that you can see the lesson? That younger part of you begins reacting before your adult mind can come in and take the reins. So that reactiveness, that's a wound that was never healed. And so I encourage you to go back and heal the older wounds. And this new shift, we're not supposed to need to look at these old wounds as much, but they're going to come up. And that's where maybe doing some inner child work is what you need to do to bring that part of your life forward so that you can protect that inner child and you can, it's kind of like inner child work is done at what stage that child is. And so when I think about doing that work, I think about what is it when you see a frightened 6-year-old child? And if you think about when the child was 6 years old, what information did they have? What did they not have? What does an abandoned 8-year-old look like making adult decisions? What is that angry teenager answering your emails? Is that really what you want? You don't want to necessarily throw the inner child off the bus because they're going to come back. They're going to come back if you don't address what it is that made them rise up in the first place and get your attention. We need to lovingly move them out of that driver's seat. So when you think about what behaviors would you be showing if you weren't keeping a check on yourself? If you were to see this child in a box store in aisle 3, what does that tantrum look like? Are they withdrawn? Are they throwing a tantrum? Are they angry? Are they throwing things? How would you approach that child to calm their nervous system, to address their safety needs, to address their trust needs? This is how you work with your inner child. Okay? You can say, I see you. I believe you. I understand why you're upset. You don't have to do this alone anymore. That you're going to, hold their hand. You're going to go do some things. And I talk to people all the time about, take your inner child on a picnic. Go blow some bubbles in the park. Go do something that's fun. Engage that inner child. Allow them to feel that safety in the things. It's like asking yourself, when I feel panicked, how old do I feel? Do you feel like a 3-year-old throwing a fit because you don't know what else to do? Because you did not get nurtured through that 3-year-old panic state. So going back and doing the work now, you're an adult, you have the skills, you know what to do. For me personally, it's my inner teenager showing up lately. And let me tell you, she is really sassy. She's demanding. She has a side of some real anger. And when she pops up, she usually has anger at specific people and saying, this is the history with that person. How do you do this and this and this? And that's where I don't need to be shaming her or pretending that this side of me isn't real. This is where I start to look, what is it that you're angry about? What feels unfair? How am I feeling powerless in this situation? And what is it that I'm trying to protect with the anger? Teenagers, they are moving through enormous changes. Their bodies are changing, their roles are changing, the expectations. There is so much change. And yet the feels are oftentimes not allowed to be felt because it's outside of their control. I love the movie Inside Out. It just really talks about being able to feel multiple feelings all at one time. And there's some adults that I think that would benefit from watching that movie. I love it. When I did play therapy, it was one of my favorite movies. So first, I'm going to give that teenager a healthy place to do the anger. If it's anger is the issue, how can I release this anger for this inner child? What are some things you can do that are um, healthy ways to express your anger? It's not going to get you in, and um, that might mean that without censoring myself, moving my body, screaming into a pillow, crying, creating, writing a journal, and then maybe burning it or shredding it, or what do I need to do? Because anger is not automatically harmful. It can show us where our boundaries were crossed. It can reveal the need to grieve. It can expose an injustice that we're feeling. It can tell us where something is that needs to be changed. But after acknowledging the anger, I also need to ask, okay, of this situation, what part of it is in my control? And then that big question, what part of it belongs to me? Which of these pieces are my feels? Which of these feels are somebody else's that I've taken on? And what part of this anger is my business to be carrying? What part of it is, what part of it is worth having a battle? I used to put price tags on battles. Something had to be worth $500 for me to go to battle for it. That was kind of one of my little inner markings of what things need to be worth for me to spend my energy on it. Not every situation requires your energy. Not every person requires your correction. And sometimes caring for your inner teenager means helping your inner teenager understand that they don't have to fight the entire world today, breaking it down into pieces, all of that. So this is a practice I think that you can make yours, that you can start to put in place when the world feels overwhelming. First, what am I feeling? Name that actual emotion. Not I feel bad. What's the actual emotion? Is it anger, fear, sadness, loneliness, resentment? Is it helplessness or pure exhaustion? Second, is all of this emotion mine? You don't have to have the exact answer, simply allowing the possibility that maybe you would be carrying something that is not yours or your responsibility. Okay? Yeah. Making space for something that's not yours is not really helpful to you. Third, how old do I feel right now? As I let these feelings come up and I scream it out, I blast it out, I journal it, I sing it out. How old do I feel? So, what version of you might it be that's having this feeling, that's needing some adult guidance, some adult attention? Okay? And then what does that younger part need? Do they need reassurance? Do they need rest? I did a reading for a lady the other day, and her inner child just needs a nap. Just needs a nap, and that reflects back to her need to do the self-care. Do the self-care. If your inner child needs a nap, it's because you're not caring for yourself. Do they need rest? They need safety, permission. Do they just need permission to be angry? Be angry and get it out of your system. You stuff those feelings, they're just going to keep popping back up. Do they need to play? Take them out. Go have an ice cream in the park. Go swing in the swings. Blow some bubbles. Color. Do some sidewalk chalk. And then the last question, the fifth question. What is one adult action that you can take right now? You can drink some water. Step away from social activities. Take a nap. Set a boundary. Write down what you're feeling. Do you need to call someone safe? Sometimes it is a phone a friend thing. Sometimes we just need having that friend who knows the difference if you're venting because you need to vent or you're venting because you're angry at them. Oftentimes it's just we're venting because we need to vent. Do you need to ask for help? Move your body. The goal's not to immediately eliminate the emotion. It's to return the adult self to the driver's seat so that you can make really good decisions. So these feels are real. Don't ever doubt that. If you're having a feeling, it's for a reason. Okay? It is important to feel it, to sit with it, to answer that feeling. The collective energy feels heavy. There's so much going on. I have so many friends immediately in my social networks out there that have a lot of opinions. I take the pieces that work for me and I leave the rest. Astrological interpretation might offer some meaningful insight. But before you decide that the planets, the government, another person, an entire universe is controlling your emotional state, come home to yourself. Listen to yourself. See what you are needing in this. What's been activated? What is that activation calling for in you? What you need to do? Your inner child does not need to be judged or silenced or abandoned again. Yes, I talk about my inner teenager coming up. When your inner child comes up, they come up at different stages, and that's just a way to equate what it is you need by assigning an age. Okay. You need to listen. They need to know that adult version of you is there and is ready to take the reins again. Listen compassionately. You can acknowledge the collective. You can acknowledge what's going on in the world without giving it all of your energy, without giving it your power. You can feel really deeply and without believing that you're losing your mind. It's really keep that checks and balances there. Pull your power back. I talk about stepping into your power, find your power, find your power, find your power, and then hold your power, keep your power. Do not hand it away. Don't give it away all willy-nilly. And you don't have to untangle any of this on your own. There are people out here to help you, to guide you. So yeah, what is it that your younger version of you needs today? Rest, play, permission to be angry, just reassurance. Sometimes I just need to know, I heard you. Not that I need someone to agree with me. I just need them to hear me out. Sometimes that's all we need. That's all we need. In customer service, I don't have to call them and yell and scream at them. I need to be heard. And so today, as I was pulling up everything, getting ready to start at 11:11 this morning, angel numbers, I pulled an angel card, and today's angel is the angel of honesty. When I am honest with myself, I feel the security and the support of my soul in my mind and my heart. The first step is to be honest with yourself, and that means to be free. From the very beginning, in any situation, if you choose clarity and honesty, everybody will feel at ease with the truth and will bring congruence to your feelings and actions. No further clarification is necessary, and all flows with beauty and dynamism. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being honest, being truthful first with yourself. Feel your feels, figure out where they're coming from, figure out which ones are yours and which ones aren't. Deal with the things that are important. So again, I'm Amanda Beth. I'm with AmandaBethHealing.com if you want to look me up. If you are in the market to look at some guidance, get some direction as to what it is that is most important, what's coming up in your life. Sometimes we need help with that. I just had a session yesterday with another theta healer. It was absolutely incredible, and it gave me a lot of perspective. Um, Healers are constantly getting healing too. So you're not in this journey alone, nor am I. I look forward to seeing you all again next week here on Transformation Tuesday. Aim to go live at 11:30 Central Time every week with tidbits. If you would like to know something more specifically, if you'd like me to dive into something, please let me know. I would be happy to to answer any questions for you, to engage more fully. Or if there's something you want me to tackle, or maybe there's a guest that I should be talking to, I would love to have somebody on the show with me. So thanks for watching. Uh, Keep it real. Reach out, get that help when you need it. Take care.